All right, so welcome back, guys, and congratulations on building the internet connection detector, okay, using the fetch API as against the window navigator object, okay. All right, so in this one we are going to build this product slider. It's like an e-commerce product slider, and basically let's see what it does. So if it's a list of products that it slides, and if I like hover on a product, the slider stops. If I take my mouse off it, it continues, and like that. And then you see this effect when you hover on the product, smooth effect there. And then there's also these buttons where we can like move between products faster. Okay, so we can do that. And when we get to the end of the product list, it goes to the beginning of the slider. So you saw that. Yeah, so basically that's what we're going to build in this project. Okay, and it's something that you most likely are going to see on websites. Okay, if you visited Amazon or any popular e-commerce website or any decent e-commerce website, you should see this product carousel. Okay, so we're going to see how we can easily build that with JavaScript, vanilla JavaScript, that is. All right, so let's get started. So I have my folder open. I didn't want to go through the motion of setting up and stuff because you've already seen how I set up. So within the folder I have some images. Okay, these images I used, and then regular index HTML style CSS. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to write the markup. So I'm just going to minimize this and give us some space. Okay, so it's also responsive, by the way. So as I minimize it, you see that it adjusted. Okay, so it's a responsive carousel slider. So let's open this with live server. Hopefully I'll be faster with this project. Somehow when I'm talking while coding, kind of makes me not very fast. Okay, so let's start by adding a h1 tag, and I think I should look at the product. Okay, so this h1 tag is simply going to say product slider. Okay, I may need to adjust my mic just a little bit so I can see my keyboard. Okay, just give me a minute. And okay, so this is fine. So it's going to say product slider, and I'm going to create a main tag that is going to hold every other thing. Okay, so with this main tag, let's create a class, a div with a class of slide container. Okay, and if you don't know how to use emmet, wow, you're missing out. Okay, cool things you can do with emmet. Okay, like what you see me do here. So I can leave a link in the description that will show you how you can use emmet to shorten your typing. Okay, so we're inside the slide container. We are going to add, first we'll add this left icon, this icon here. So it's actually an image, and I'm just going to go into my images folder, and then I'm going to, I can't remember what I named it. Okay, arrow left.png. Okay, and for the alt, well, I can just say left and stuff like that, or maybe I can just use this. Oh, that's not going to work. So left, and I'm going to give this a class and an I. So let me give it an ID of slide left, slide hyphen left. Okay, and then I'll give it a class of arrow. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I will just copy this first, right? Okay, and then I would create another section. So I'll create a section that is going to have a class of container and an ID of slider. Okay, and then outside of this section, right, I'll paste in this code I copied, and I'll change it to arrow, I think is right. So arrow rights.png, and I would also change the ID to right, and then I'll save. So let's just see what we have thus far. So basically we have this left and right gigantic button, but we're going to fix that. I know why it's gigantic, because we set the image to 100%, okay, and our CSS, but we're going to fix that, no problems. So let's come back here so we can, oh, I can close this up so we can track what we're doing. So inside of this section, right, we're going to create each of the image thumbnails, okay? So this is like an image thumbnail. So I'll just create a div. So I'll say dot thumbnail, right? So I think I want to space this out so we can separate this code and see what we're doing. Okay, so inside of the thumbnail, the first thing we have is the image and then these details here. So let's go ahead and do image, and the first image is actually image 1. So I'll basically just do images, and I think it's just 1.png. Yeah, so 1.png, and if I save and come here, you see we have this image. So maybe what I'll do is I'll just go right ahead to my CSS file, right, and I'll just comment out, where is my image? So I'll comment out this for now so that we can have something smaller. Okay, yeah. So back to HTML and let's continue. So we've added the first image. I'm not going to bother about the alt tag now, but of course you're supposed to put something there just in case your user's internet is not connecting. So now I'll add a div with a class of product details. Okay, and that's where we are going to put in all of these details here. Okay, so this text, the price and stuff. Okay, so inside the product details we are going to add a h2, and this h2 is just going to say demo product, right? And then we're going to add a paragraph tag that is going to have a span inside of it, and the first so we're going to put two prices, right? So the first one is going to be $39.99. okay, so I'll just say 39.99, and then I can probably just copy this, and then here it's now going to say 29. So this is the sale price. So if you visit an e-commerce website, you know that there is a sale price, like a reduced price, like a discounted price or something. So that's then the last one, we're going to add this button here. So I'm just going to add an a tag that is going to go nowhere. So that's how, oh, what have I done? So here, okay, and it's just going to say add to cart. Add to cart, and I think that's it. So let me just make sure that, okay, so we are good to go. So I'll save that and let's see what we have. Okay, so we have these guys here. Now basically all we just need to do is we're just going to duplicate this thumbnail. So let me just space this out so we can see what we are duplicating, right? So this thumbnail is what holds each of the products, right? We're going to duplicate this thumbnail like maybe 11 times and just change the images inside of it. So that is not going to take us so long. So I'll just get this Ctrl+C, and I would, okay, actually there's a way we can do this stuff. There's a shortcut. Let me show you one shortcut in Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to press Alt and Shift, and I'm going to press down. So you see that I duplicated it downward. So that's 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so we have 11 products. So basically all we're going to do is, let me just look at my images folder and make sure that, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 9, 10, 11, and even 12. Okay, so all we need to do is just to change the image number. So this is 1, right? I'm going to come here and make this 2 and 3, and this is going to be 4, and this is going to be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Okay, so I had just 11. Well, I can actually add the last one, so I'll just do Alt Shift and press the downward arrow, and I'm just going to make this 12, and then I'll save. So let's just see what we have. So you see we have all the products displayed. Okay, so it's a very long shot between what we have here and what we actually have here, but we're going to do that, and we're going to see the power of CSS and JavaScript. Okay, so let me come here so we can see things as they occur. So I'll go to my styles.css so we can start. So for our styles.css, let's see. So basically we are going to start by targeting the H1 right here. So let's do H1. And by the way, don't pay too much attention to the way I organize my HTML and CSS. I'm just trying to build as fast as I can. Okay, the important thing here is how we can use logic to achieve what we want. Okay, if I was doing a HTML and CSS project, I will be definitely more organized. And if you check out my HTML, CSS, and SAS course, you would see a lot of organization there. Okay, so let's just do font size of 3 rem, and let's do line height of 2, and text align of center. Okay, let's change the color to, let's use our primary color, so this should be primary, and save. Okay, so the 3 rem looks actually small, maybe 3.5 rem. Let's just do 3.5. okay, so that's better. And then let's get the main tag that houses everything. So for the main tag, we're just going to give it a background color, and I'm just going to use a color that is not in my variable, so that's F4, and I'll save. Okay, so that's this gray color. I think the EEE will also work. EEE, it's actually similar. Okay, just a little bit darker, but that's fine. Let me just change it back to my F4, and for what am I, so I'm just going to do some padding, and it's just going to be 4 rem on the top and bottom, 0 on the left and right. Okay, and then we're going to target the slide container. So we just did for the main, so we're coming down, so slide container is next. So let's do dot slide hyphen container, right? And for that, we're just going to give it a max hyphen width of 1000 pixels, so 1000 px, and we're going to save. I'm going to open up the browser so we can see what that does. Okay, we're not going to see that because things are still aligned on the left. Okay, but let's continue. Let's do display of flex. Ouch. Flex. And let's justify contents to center. And let's align items to center as well. Let's do a margin of 0 and auto, and save. Okay, yeah, so you see that it's better now. Okay, we're already having some organization to this thing. Okay, so next let's get this arrow and make it smaller. So I'll just come and say dot arrow, and basically I'll just give it a width of 2 rem and a margin of 0 on the top and bottom, and 1 rem on the left and right, and I'll save. Okay, so you see what we have here. Okay, So next we are going to target this section here, right? The section that holds all of the images. Yeah. So let's come down here and let's just target this section. It's just one section we have, okay? If you had several sections, then you may want to be specific. But like I said, it's just a mini project. So I'll give this section a width of 100%. I'll set the margin to 0 and auto. The reason why I'm setting margin to 0 and auto everywhere is that I just want this thing to be centered no matter what, okay? I'll set the display to flex, and let's justify content to, this time it's going to be, okay, my display flex, let's see what it does first. I'll save, okay? So you see what it does, right? And I'm going to say, okay, so let me shrink that up. So currently it's not responsive currently, so you see, but we're going to do that with CSS, okay? So let's justify content to flex start. Okay, so we've been seeing a lot of justify content center. Let's align items to center and save. Then let's add flex wrap and say no wrap. Okay, then now this is the main property that is going to help us create a slider, overflow X, right? And we'll set it to auto and save. So you see now it has made this section responsive, and we then have this slider here. Okay, so way to go, right? Okay, so let's continue and we're going to add a WebKit. So I'll say WebKit, and I'll say overflow scrolling, overflow. Okay, it actually seems like this function has been deprecated. All right, but I'm just gonna leave it here, but let me add a comment. Okay, but then let's just continue. So let's do WebKit scroll bar. So I'll come here, right? I'll say section, and I'll add the pseudo element of, and let's do scroll bar. So that's the first one here. And basically what we want to do is we want to be able to target and style this scroll bar here. Okay, so that's what we're targeting here. All right, so let's give it a height of 5 pixels. Okay, and let's give it a width of 2 pixels. Let's give it a border 1px solid, and I'm going to use this color, so I'll say hash. So this is going to be d5 d5 d5. Okay, so it's going to have that color, and let's do a background also of same color. So okay, and basically you see that there is this line here, right? Yeah, so that's what we wanted to achieve. Then we are then going to add, so let me just get this guy and copy this, and I'll paste it here, and then I'll say scroll back track. Okay, so basically for the scroll back track, that's going to help us add this color. This is our primary color here, to be able to see the position of the scroll bar. Okay, so we're just going to see background color, and let's use our variable, and we're going to add a color primary and save. Okay, so that's what we have here. Then let's add outline. and I'm just going to say 1px solid and hash EEE. Okay, so there's one more thing we need to do, and that is the scroll bar thumb. So let's copy this, and when we do that, we'll see what it actually does. So I'm just going to say scroll bar hyphen thumb. So my code editor is already giving me the answer. So I'll just duplicate these functions here. Okay, I think I made a mistake for the scroll bar track. I did make a mistake with the CSS for the scroll bar track. I noticed it, but I was just too distracted to. So for the scroll bar track, right, I'm going to do, so let's add our WebKit, and let's do box shadow, box hyphen. Okay, and we're going to set it to inset 0, 0, and 6 pixels. So let's do 6px, and then we're going to add RGBA, and I'll just do a black color with an opacity of 0.3. So this should be comma, not and 0.3. Okay, so you see what that did. Actually, that would reduce the size of this scroll bar thumb. Okay, yeah, so we're almost done with this thing. So I think we can start styling our thumbnail right now. Okay, so we're just going to do, so let's do section, and let's get the dot thumbnail class, and basically we're going to start by saying flex. So because this is actually a flex item, right? If it's a flex child, okay, or a flex item, the parent container is the section container, and all of these are flex items within that container. So for that, I'm going to say 0, 0, and auto. And then if you don't know about Flexbox and the grid system, I would leave a link in the description for a crash course I did on Flexbox and the grid layout. But also, if you want an in-depth explanation, you can actually check out my HTML, CSS, and SAS course. I'll leave a link in the description also for that. Okay, so let's add some more style. Okay, so you see what we're doing, right? Let's add some border radius of maybe 3 pixels. Let's do overflow of hidden and Control Z, and let's save. Okay, then I'm going to do a transform property. So transform, and I'll say scale, and I'm just going to put it to 0.95. So I'm actually reducing the size, right? And let's do transition of all and 0.3 seconds, because we're going to add a hover class. Okay, so I can just grab this guy here, and I can come down here and say hover pseudo class. Okay, so basically what I want is when you hover on this image, I want the size to grow out. Okay, so I'll just copy this scale guy here, and that's the only thing I need essentially. I'll paste that in, and I'll change this to 1. Okay, now let's see what happens. So if I hover on the image, you see that it grows out, and the growth is smooth because of our transition property. Okay, so in this tutorial we're actually going to learn we're actually learning a lot of HTML and CSS, and then we then see how we can use JavaScript to make things a little bit more interesting. So basically I will go to my product details section. Okay, so I'll come down here and I'll just say dots. I'll align the text to center, and I will do some padding on the bottom. I'll just do one rem, and I'll do a background color of white, so hash. Okay, that's because the color of the body is, I think, this gray color kind of, so I'll make this white, and then we can then go ahead and add for the h2 within the product details. So I can just come here and say h2, and basically the plan is not actually to add crazy styles, it's just to make it look a little bit decent. So let's just do 1.2 rem, and let's do a font weight of 500. I don't know if I have, okay, I'm not sure I have 500 here. Okay, so 1.2 rem is incredibly small, so let's just see. And this 500, let's just make it 600. Okay, so that's better. Let's do the details. So product details and the paragraph within it. Basically there are two things we need to do. The first is the span, and then the remaining part of the paragraph. So let me just take a break. I want to get all right. So yeah, I'm better now. So for our paragraph, we're going to do a font size of, let's try 1 rem first. Okay, so this should be maybe like 1.4 rem or 1.6. all right, so that's better. And let's do some padding on the bottom. So padding hyphen bottom, and let's just do 1 rem as well. Okay, let's give it a color of green. So I didn't set a variable for that, so I just use green. And let's do font weight of 700 to make it bold and thick. Okay, so but this is not what we want. We want the first one to be stricken out and in red. So let me show you, like so, right? And not even bold. So what we're going to do is we're just going to get this, and we're going to add this span. So remember, we have a span where we place the first price. So we're going to do first of all, let's change the font weight, and I'll just set it to normal, and let's do text decoration, and I'll set it to line through. So you see that, and then let's change the color, and I'll set it to red. Boom. Yeah, so we're almost ready and good to go. The last thing we need to do is we need to style this link here. So add to cart. Okay, so that should be pretty straightforward. All we need to do is we need to get this guy and paste that in, and I'll just say A. How do we start? So let's start by giving it a font size of 1.4 rem. That seems okay, or maybe 1.5. And let's give it a text decoration to none to remove the underline on the link. That's better. Let's do a background color of, we use our secondary color, so var and secondary, and then the color of the text itself is going to be set to white. let's do some padding, and I'm just going to do 5 px on the top and bottom and 10 px on the left and right. 10 px and save. So when I use small values, I actually do not use, if I'm using a small value like maybe 3 pixels, I don't have to use rem. Okay, I can just use pixels. It doesn't really make any difference, like any much difference. So maybe I'll change this to like maybe 7. Okay, and I kind of feel like the page is shrinked out, so it isn't actually. Okay, then let's do some border radius of 3 px. Okay, so the last thing we need to do is we need to add a hover class, okay, for this guy here. And since we're adding a hover class, we probably gonna add a transition property and all 0.3 seconds to smoothen out whatever we want to do. And then we're just going to say hover pseudo class. Sometimes I just say these things and I forget the terminologies and I don't say them rightly, okay, but I'm sure you know the right thing. So I'll say color primary and I'll save. So if we hover on this guy now, you see that the color changes, right? All right, so I think we're good to go, except that we need to add some padding around this button, this area here. So how, I think it's product details, right? So I did 1 rem, so maybe I'll make it 2 rem. All right, so there's some space on the bottom. So we're good to go. So the last thing we need to do is we need to add JavaScript. So I'll come here and I think I can close this up. I'll go to my script.js and I'll close this up as well. Okay, so this is where things get interesting. Okay, so let's begin by adding some variables. Okay, so I would say variables, and usually for variables I would definitely use const. Okay, but for some reason when I was building this I use let thumbnail be equals to I say document. So document dot get elements by id, sorry, get elements by class name. So class name, yeah, and basically we're going to get the thumbnail class. So I would say thumbnail, okay, which is the container that holds all of the images here. Okay, so this doesn't really do anything yet, but we're going to set that. So we're getting the thumbnail, and then I'll say let slider be equal to, so document dot get element by id, and I would say I think it was slider. Okay, and then basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate this twice, and I will just do slide right and slide left. So I'll do button right, and here I'll do button left. Okay, that's for these 2 buttons we have here. Okay, and then of course remember we did slide hyphen right and then slide hyphen left. So I think we're done with these variables for now. Those are the main things we need. So first let's add an event listener for the left button. So I'll just come down here and then I'll say button left dot add event listener, okay, and I'm sure you know we're going to use the click event. So when you click on the button, right, what do we want to happen? We want to create a function, right, that will simply just say slide the that will scroll this guy to the left. So basically I'll say slider dot scroll left. Okay, so I'm using this scroll left property. All right, so you see it's a JavaScript property. So I'll say slider dot scroll left, right, minus equals 125, and then I'll close that. Okay, so basically what I'm saying is, let me just save this and let me make sure that I'm on the right path. Okay, can you see what happens? So basically if I click on this left button, it's going to scroll this slider, right? The slider, which is what houses the thumbnail, is going to scroll it to the left by 125 pixels. Okay, so that's basically what I just did here. Okay, so in the same vein, I'm going to replicate this for the right button, and I'll paste that in. Okay, and I'm just going to change this to button right. So okay, so button right, and then this is going to be plus equals. So I'm sure you already know how this works. So when you say plus equals, you're actually saying slider is equals to um scroll left, slider scroll left plus 125. So the current position plus 125 pixels. Okay, so if I save this guy here and I come here and I click on this scroll, you see that it moves by that number. So let me just open this. There's no need to open it up, you can see what is going on. So but basically what we want is, we want it to actually like automatically scroll by itself, which is what we have here, right? And then if the user likes, it can, you know, try to make it faster. Okay, so that's what we want. Okay, so let's begin to do that. So the first thing we're going to do is, there are different things we're going to do. Actually, we'll calculate the position of the scroll at every moment, and then we'll then automatically scroll that. Okay, so first off, we're going to create a function. So this function is going to calculate the maximum width for this container here. You know what we're going to call that function? We're going to call it max scroll left, right? That's what we're going to call it. And we're going to say that this function is equals to slider dot scroll width minus slider dot client width. Yeah, so that's it. Now basically what we are saying is that this max scroll left, right, is, we are calculating it, and we're saying that this slider here, right, the current position minus the total width of this container. Okay, I don't know if you're getting the explanation, but when we eventually effect the slider function, it will become clear. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do is, I'm going to alert, let me alert, oh, I commented this out. I'm going to alert the max scroll left, and I'll save. So you see here it says 1769 pixels. I'll click on OK. Okay, let me refresh the page again so we can see. So because I moved that scroll bar, it has reduced to 1400. So let me move it one more time to somewhere here and refresh the page, and as you can see, it changes as well. So that's basically what this variable does here, right? So maybe I'll just comment this out. Okay, and then I'll create a function to autoplay the slider. So let me see auto play slider. Okay, so let's create a function, and we're going to name this function autoplay. So basically, what do we want to do in this function? We're going to say that if slider.scroll left is greater than, and then let's put in a bracket, max scroll left rather. So max scroll left, and then I'll just say -1. Okay, what do I want to do? I want to say, so maybe I'll just copy it, okay, instead of typing it out. So I want this function, this property to take place. So I'll just come here and I'll paste this in. Okay, let me just put the else statement, right? And I would copy this property, I'll paste it in, but I will change this to 1 so that it's just a small it scrolls gradually. So basically what I'm saying is that if the slider.scroll left, right, which is this guy moving here, is greater than the max scroll left, right, I want to move this guy backwards. Oh, this is not actually what I should have done. I want to move it backwards. So I'll say slider.scroll left will be minus equals the max scroll left, not 25. So let me just copy it because I want to move it back to the beginning of the slider. Okay, so let me paste that in. Okay, all right, so let me take that again. I say that if the slider.scroll left position, like this guy here, is greater than the max scroll left -1. So I'm saying that if this slider gets to the end, so if it gets to the end, that is the max scroll left, right? And then I just removed 1 just to make sure that once it gets to the end, it comes back. I'm saying that if this point gets to the end here, which is the max scroll left, I want to move this guy to the beginning, right? So I'm going to subtract the max scroll left from the slider, so it will move it back to the beginning. Do you understand? And if it's not, that's the else statement, I want to increase the position by 1. Okay, so it's going to be doing that slowly, and then when it gets to here, this first if statement becomes true, and then it subtracts the max scroll left from this slider here, and then it takes it back to the beginning. Is it clear? So that's basically what I just said here in this statement. Okay, I'll save that. Okay, that's not what I want to do. I'll save this, right? And of course nothing happens here because I need to use the set interval method to make sure that this autoplay kicks in. So I'll come out here and I'll just say let play be equals to set interval. So set interval, and I'll say I'll add the autoplay, and then I'll specify the timing. So this time I'll just say 50 and I'll save. So you can see here that immediately it starts to move because of this set interval method that is calling this function. Okay, every this amount of milliseconds. Okay, so this is actually milliseconds, so that's why it moves continuously. Okay, so there are a lot of things we need to do. First off, when we hover here, we want it to stop, so we've not done that, right? So but we can still move this, and when it gets to the end here, so let me just drag it to the end and let's wait. Oh, So I just need to move this guy, and when it gets to the end, you see that it moves back to the beginning. All right, so let's continue. So but what we need to do now is let's create a function that will pause the slider on hover. Okay, so for this, I'm going to say that I'm going to create a loop. So it's going to be a for loop, and I would say let I is equals to 0, and I'll say that I is less than thumbnail.length. Okay, and I'll increase I, so I'll say I plus plus. So I'm looping through the thumbnail.length, okay, such that I want to get the current thumbnail. So you know how we do that? I'll say thumbnails, and then I'll say I, that's the ith item or the current item, right? Dot add event listener. Okay, and this event listener is going to be the mouse over event. So I'll say mouse over. And what do I want to do when you hover on the mouse? So let's add a function. Let's use the arrow function to say that we want to clear the interval. Okay, that's we want to clear this autoplay. Okay, so basically I will just say clear interval, and inside of it I would say that's the play rather, so this play guy here. So I'll say play, and I'll save. Now watch what happens when I hover. Boom, it stops. But when I remove my mouse, it doesn't continue. So I need to create another event listener for when I remove my mouse. Okay, that will be the mouse out event listener. So what do? I will just come outside of here, or basically I can just copy this guy and I'll paste that in, and then I would say mouse out. Okay, so basically what I want to do here is different. So I'll return something, and then I'll just say play is equal to set interval, and then I'll just call the autoplay. And basically what I just did before, I'm just going to repeat it. Okay, and yeah, I'll save. So it starts up the slider, it fires up the slider, right? And when I hover my mouse, it stops the slider. When I come out, it continues. Okay, and then if we like, we can also move the slider faster. Okay, and then when we get to the end, it will go back to the beginning. So let me just wait patiently. Oh, so we have two images repeated here. Okay, so it goes back to the beginning. So basically this is the image carousel that we can have on our product, on our website. And there's something I want to say that I'm kind of forgetting, but hopefully I'll remember in the other parts of the lecture. Okay, so basically we are done with this project, and what we're going to do now is that we're going to create a product filter as the next project. So this is a product carousel slider. What we're going to do is a product filter next. Okay, so I'll just take a quick break, get something to drink, and we will be back. Okay, so thank you so much, and see you in the next one.